A buffalo is a very strong and formidable animal, ready to deal with many creatures despite the fact that it's a herbivore. But for one lizard, even a large buffalo is nothing. What kind of lizard is it? Where does it live? And what is it capable of? You'll find out in this video. Komodo Dragon. When we talk about lizards, we usually have an image in our minds of a small lizard just crawling around somewhere, seemingly posing no threat to humans, let alone large animals. But lizards come in many forms, and one of them is the Komodo dragon, also known as the Komodo monitor. It's a real monster, a huge killer, and the largest lizard in existence. The Komodo dragon can be more than 13 feet long, weighing over 280 pounds. Average individuals are smaller, but they're also astonishing in terms of size. In the wild, this dragon lives only in Indonesia on local islands, although it used to live in Australia. Australians and their animals can heave a sigh of relief because I wouldn't wish anyone to share their land with such a dangerous and huge creature. The Komodo dragon not only has an impressive size, but also incredible strength. This applies to the power of its jaws as well, and with a single blow of its armored tail, this lizard is able to break limbs, knock an opponent out, or even finish it. All animals in Indonesia are afraid of this lizard. Because the Komodo dragon is a top predator, this means that no one hunts it, but the monitor lizard itself can attack and eat anyone, and especially likes large prey. Buffaloes, I mentioned at the beginning of the video, are some of its favorite delicacies. Yes, they're not African buffaloes, which are the biggest in the world, but local Asian water buffaloes are not small either. The monitor lizard eats buffalo calves without much difficulty. The lizard attacks a baby, bites it, and often swallows it whole. By the way, the Komodo dragon just loves to swallow its prey whole. It's its signature technique, something like fatality. The situation is more complicated with adults, but everything is solvable. As an option, a Komodo dragon can attack from behind and bite a leg of a clumsy buffalo, or it can bite a buffalo's torso during a fight. Sometimes a single bite is enough, after which the lizard waits. The fact is that the Komodo dragon is venomous. Venomous glands are contained in its mouth, so the reptile gives its prey a toxin through a bite. Gradually, inflammatory processes begin to occur in the body of the buffalo. It becomes weak, and the monitor lizard calmly kills it and eats it. After the bite, it can go about its business. The Komodo dragon has a very keen sense of smell, so it easily finds its dying prey by smell, and if the lizard doesn't want to wait, it can try to defeat the buffalo right on the spot. However, this usually requires at least a couple of monitor lizards. It's not easy for one to quickly defeat such a large opponent. Local buffaloes know about the power of Komodo dragons, so they prefer not to mess with them. When they don't want to spend a lot of energy on hunting, they may choose something simpler as their prey. For example, local goats or deer. They're much easier to bite through than an Asian water buffalo, but these ungulates are much more agile than the bulls, but that's no problem. The lizard is no slouch. Despite its armored appearance, it's distinguished by its great speed. Komodo dragons develop speeds up to 12 miles per hour and pounce sharply on their prey. So, they catch up with goats and deer and neutralize them without much difficulty, and then everything is according to the plan. Capture, venomous bite, and massacre. Not only wild animals suffer from these lizards, but also livestock, horses and pigs, for example. In terms of difficulty level, for the Komodo dragon, it's about the same as baby goats or fawns. In general, hunting will be easy because the size of many local pigs is small. Komodo dragons often swallow them whole, as, in fact, many of their other preys. Monkeys can be among the preys. There are many of them in Southeast Asia, enough for all the monitor lizards. For these giant reptiles, local monkeys are just a snack to hunt them. Komodo monsters do not spend much effort. They hunt them, but they almost always swallow them whole and quickly. This is something like chips for the monitor lizard. The Komodo lizard doesn't mind competing with reptiles. Competing is the right word since they're the only creatures that can at least stand up to this armored dragon. Take tortoises, for example. Komodo dragons eat them too, but the hunt is not always successful. Komodo dragons can't always bite a tortoise shell in half, which saves the poor creatures. However, sometimes the lizards succeed. Another opponent of the Komodo dragon is a snake. The Komodo dragon eats small snakes without any problem, but it prefers not to mess with large ones. It's not interested in them, and in itself realizes that they can be dangerous. Messing with venomous king cobras is not the best idea, even for the Komodo dragon. However, conflicts between them sometimes happen, and the lizard usually comes out the winner, just because of its size. Finally, Komodo dragons can fight with crocodiles. These are probably the only animals at all that can pose a real threat to the monitor lizard. Therefore, if a monitor lizard chooses a crocodile for dinner, it chooses small individuals. In short, the Komodo dragon is dangerous to everyone. Let's not forget about this. Because of its aggression, size, and venomous abilities, the Komodo dragon is a threat to humans. Sometimes these reptiles attack humans, and unfortunately, some attacks end tragically, but this usually happens in the middle of nowhere. Komodo dragons are one of the main living attractions in Indonesia, and there are quite a few tourist areas with these animals. The staff here feed them regularly to suppress aggression and anger in them. Therefore, in tourist areas, Komodo dragons are safe and do not attack anyone. The main thing is not to pester them. It must be said that people not only admire Komodo dragons, but also pose a threat to them. Due to human economic activity, extermination of the prey is habitual for the monitor lizards, as well as poaching. There are fewer and fewer Komodo dragons left in the world, and the species is already considered endangered. It turns out, in addition to large crocodiles, these reptiles have one more enemy, and that's us. Actually, there's one more, and that is the Komodo dragon. Yes, you've seen some footage today of the monitor lizards hunting together, but that doesn't mean they're all close friends, ready to stand up for each other. They're more likely to be ready to eat each other. Cannibalism is common among these animals, as if they don't have enough other animals that live together with them on the same territory. When they can't find food, and this sometimes happens, the larger animals can eat their smaller congeners. Komodo dragons eat young and small monitor lizards, and they do it quite often. Scientists have estimated that they can make up almost 10% of the total diet. Komodo dragons are so ruthless that not only are they feared by their own small congeners, but even their own babies are afraid of them. As soon as they hatch, they immediately run away from their mother and hide in the nearest trees so the parents don't eat them. They spend the first couple of years of their lives running and hiding in the crowns of trees where they're out of the reach of adults. Komodo dragons are interesting not only because they attack and eat everything. I have something else to tell you about them. Keep watching to find out some more interesting facts about the largest lizards on the planet. Reproduction. Komodo dragons are solitary creatures. They interact with each other only when feeding or when mating. As for mating, they have a classical mating which takes place in winter during the dry season. After that, the female searches for a place to lay its eggs. But things can be different. Komodo dragons can also reproduce asexually. This process is called parthenogenesis. What does this mean? It means that if there are no males, females can still lay a viable clutch of unfertilized eggs. In this case, all the babies will be males. But why do Komodo dragons need such a feature in the first place? Scientists believe it may have something to do with the isolation of their habitat. This allows them to establish new colonies if, as a result of a storm, females without males are thrown to neighboring islands. Did you know that the Komodo dragon inspired one man to create one of the most famous monsters in cinematic history? Who do you think I'm talking about? Personally, I'd immediately think of Godzilla. There are similarities between the two, but it turns out that the Komodo dragon helped create King Kong. A friend of Marion C. Cooper, the director who created King Kong and made the iconic 1933 movie of the same name, visited the island of Komodo and wrote a book about it in which he called the Komodo dragons the kings of Komodo. Under the influence of the book, Cooper thought that it would be interesting to catch a real gorilla in the Congo and make it fight with a Komodo dragon. Later, the idea was transformed into a battle between King Kong, the giant gorilla, and the T-Rex. Today, I've told you a lot about how Komodo dragons are frightening, cruel, ruthless, aggressive, large, and so on. It's hard not to call these lizards real monsters, but as it sometimes happens, every monster has a bright side, and the Komodo dragon is no exception. These lizards are very curious and playful, just like domestic cats. Captive individuals play with shovels, shoes, frisbees, balls, buckets, and bags. They also play tug-of-war with humans. The way the monitor lizards interact with objects has no aggression or food motivation, and therefore can be considered a game. And some people consider Komodo dragons to be cute creatures and even have them as exotic pets. Well, that's their business, but I would certainly not risk taking in the creature that made the world see King Kong. That's all, guys. Would you like to see a Komodo dragon in person? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you later.